Call the meeting to order. President Carol Rowe, Bill McGowan, Paul Kears, and Dan Coughlin. So go ahead, Paul.
Okay, so I sent out an email yesterday, Brian, you were copied on it, specific to the language in section 3A of the Cook contract. So if you're comfortable with that language, then I'm good with it. So
I apologize, I haven't read it yet. Let me find it. So email from you.
yeah, we were just talking about, where the ownership ends. What we were trying to decide, does it end at the property line? Does it end at the pumping station? Where does it end? It looks like the language says that it ends at the school property. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I'm fine with that verbiage, but
Yeah,
I
we're
don't.
not going to take
I
care
think
of
it's
it.
like more of a legal term. I mean,
okay,
I agree that the property, the ownership should end at the town property, the school property.
okay,
And but the semantics of it and the legality of that, that phrasing, I'll defer to more experienced legal minds.
that's fine. Wait, I agreed with the stopping at the property. I've never heard it put that way, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think we talked about this months ago.
Yeah, we were trying to determine where our responsibility begins and theirs end.
Yeah. And so just to put that through an example, if there was a leak on the line on the Heggie property or up on the Cook Estates, they would own it in the future. And if there was some maintenance on the school grounds, then we would own that down in the pump station. Is that the concept? Okay, yeah, I agree with that
Okay,
concept.
Bill,
Yes.
when's the next meeting gonna be?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
The 26th.
Okay,
I only had a couple of comments on the agreement. One was it looked like the as-bills were taken out of the agreement. So I don't know if we're going to get as-bills for the plans. And the other thing was there was an O&M manual requirement in there. And usually that's good practice just to make sure you know what they're doing in their system as far as system maintenance. And that was subject to your approval originally. That's excluded now from the agreement. And then the final thing I think was when it all started basically for the interim period before we took it over, is that they were going to have some type of emergency repair account set up. And generally speaking, DEP usually requires that for private pumping stations and treatment facilities. But they don't really, that's only if you apply to them for a permit. So I'm not sure if you want them to have a separate account for that, or you feel comfortable that they're going to have sufficient funds in their group coffers basically to cover emergency repairs.
yeah, so Dan, we negotiated that aspect already. So we took out that $25,000 in lieu of this warranty being assigned to the town.
Okay.
So that's what our last agreement was with them on that.
Yeah, I'm more worried about pumps breaking down, and basically you have all the homes not having a sewer connection, that type of thing.
No, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, my concern is all the I&I, if they don't have a solid system up there, we're going to be taking in a lot of I&I. I don't know how we're going to monitor and, the estate, like you had monitoring provisions in for CJC or other places in town. I don't know how you're going to monitor this. I didn't see that in there as well. So I know that was section 2A that you had referenced on. So
yeah,
we'd have to see what that is.
Yeah, I actually have a call with Tom Flannery right after this, so I'll talk to him about it. See what he says, but I think probably bring Greg in this just to get a final polish on it before we sign anything.
Okay. So we just wanted to get any other questions for Brian out of the way.
Yeah. Anything else, Brian?
No, nothing of note. The Woods Hole group had a public presentation Monday. I don't know if any of you attended.
Was that the same presentation they gave us 2 weeks ago?
No, well, it included some of the stuff, but yours was just a sewer focus. This was a
Okay.
comprehensive kind of regional and town focus.
Okay,
But that's it.
so what, everyone has to buy a canoe or what's the deal?
Yeah, something bigger, I think.
Yeah. In a few years.
Yeah.
That's the next big business when we get into
All
it.
right. Thank you so much, Brian.
All right, thanks.
So CJC is next.
I think
Update.
we're- Yeah, I
If
think
there
we're
is
done
any-
with them. As far as I know, they've got, they've got the signed agreements, so.
Well, what we asked Dan to do 2 weeks ago was to provide a summary and an update on the entire project. To see when we fully close out the agreement and it gets conveyed to the town and we move on. So I don't know where we stand with all of that, Dan.
Yeah, I had asked them to send the closeout package, just received it yesterday.
Okay,
It's only a partial package. They still do not have the as-built plans, which they owe us, and those need to be put together and submitted. But, there's still some things that they need to send to us. I believe there was also some additional tank testing that might have been done that we don't have. But at this point in time, it's an incomplete package, but we're gonna go through it and review it and see if we can make a list, like a punch list for them.
okay, yeah, if you have a list of what's in that agreement that had to be done. And tell us what was completed and what the gap analysis is, what's left to do. And then I believe after a period of 1 year, it's conveyed to the town, right? So we want to make sure everything's is everything before we accept it, everything is completed.
Yeah, we still have to do a final inspection.
Okay.
Usually do that with the as-built plans though, so. Hopefully we can get an update on when the as-built plans will be generated, so we have those for the town.
Okay, so you think you might have at least the list to us by the 26th, Dan?
Yeah, I can give you a punch list.
Okay,
Probably sometime next week. And I'll have an update on as far as when those as-bills will be
so
available. hopefully.
yeah, if you make the list, if I would like you to reference the section and paragraph of the contract so we can see where the requirement lies.
Sure.
Yeah, so if it lives in section 2A, then we'll just know that that's the one he's complying to, and then what one is missing.
Sure.
And then DEP's looking to find out when they officially close out and decommission their tanks in accordance with Title V too.
So you don't have final closeout of septic.
No, they haven't
Okay.
done that yet.
Is there a time period for that?
They did pull the permits, correct, Pam?
They pulled the permits a long time ago, like last September, but they still haven't even begun the work yet. And Attorney DeLisi was saying June, and then he retracted and said now he thinks it's mid-May.
Okay. So we've got some work ahead of us here.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next point up is finance.
So Jennifer, I had the pleasure of sitting next to you at 10:15 at night on a
I
Tuesday.
know.
You guys made it that long?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long night.
Oh, awful.
Well, I updated your reports through March and then I went to go email them this morning and I couldn't get on the website to get your names and emails because I just needed to be my memory refreshed. So if you want to promote me, I can share my screen and walk you through some reports. Is that what you're anticipating?
Yeah, so so basically, we would meet with Don at least once a year. I met with him probably 3 or 4 times myself, just to get familiar with how sewer chart of accounts are constructed and what the purpose for some of those are. So I kind of need a refresher on those with you. Maybe I can sit down with you or we have a Zoom call on some of those. and we want to understand where we're going to have some significant events that are coming upon us this year and into 2024. And we have not accounted for these yet. So we're looking to find out from you how best to structure those. And two of them specifically, we'd like to see a separate account for each one. One being we have an agreement with CJC in which
What is CJC?
that is
When you put your agenda together, I mean, I don't know if anybody jumps into these, like, I don't even know what that is.
okay. So CJC is just commonly referred to as Chief Justice Cushing Highway, which is Stop and Shop Plaza, which has three addresses, 380, 390, and 400 CJC.
Okay,
It's considered one commercial sewer district for us. And we entered into an agreement with them to where they would pay us 1.1 million over 20 years. And a privilege and hookup fee. So we
Okay.
wanted that to be captured in a separate account so that we could track it.
right, you can't, well, first of all, you can't spend that money, that has to be an appropriation, so any projects that you're doing outside your operating budget is gonna have to go to town meeting for an appropriation.
Right, to spend it.
Right,
Okay,
Okay.
so we just want to get it into the account and account for it. So we're not sure where that would live. I don't know if that's going to be considered revenue or if this is going to be some other type of account that captures.
it's general sewer revenue, so. Has he been paying this fee?
No, so this is going to begin once the completion of all of the provisions in the contract are completed, which we feel hopefully would be done by June.
Okay.
Then we start billing him quarterly. We have to determine who's doing the billing for the 1.1 million. We know that water department does the billing for water and sewer. But we don't know who's going to do the billing quarterly for the 1.1 over 20 years. We don't believe there's a mechanism in place. So we're trying to confirm with you or work with you to figure out where that mechanism would live. And how it's going to be collected and how it shows up on our books.
Well, I think on any type of discussion that we're gonna have about your budget and accounts, we need to have Carol involved, because Carol really is the one, your administrative assistant, who should be handling the books, the accounting on some of this for the sewer department. I mean, I handle it from a town accountant's perspective, but to really drill down, I'll have to look at what the revenue is. I mean, I know Carol probably works with someone to do the billing. Can they bill for this? She needs to check the with the software, can they bill for this one person quarterly? Or is this going to be a manual bill that is being sent out? And if it's a manual bill, then Carol's going to have to do that and stay on top of it and make sure the revenue comes in. And then she can track the revenue separately. And I'll look at the chart of accounts and see
Okay.
where
There's
we're
no-
at with that.
Right, so we're gonna need a second account for Cook Estates. We're entering a similar agreement where Cook is going to pay us 700,000 or so over the next 20 years as well. So we want to capture that.
Right,
And-
well, we have receivable, and we need to talk about the billing, because if we're billing somebody, then I have to book it as a receivable. So it
Okay.
should be done through the software. So when the commitment comes in, I book it on the accounting side, just the total amount. And then the revenue comes in with the sewer revenue. And then if you want it broken down by who's paying what, that will probably be something that Carol will be doing. I don't foresee me setting up a bunch of different revenue accounts that's going to feed into one receivable account, but I'll take a look at it. But we want to have Carol involved, because the level of detail that you want, since you have an administrative assistant, should be able to provide that level of detail. If I'm not accounting for it on the, like that level of detail, I'm accounting for it. But, we have a UMass accounting system, which is a uniform mass accounting system. And so, I set up the accounts according to that. So that's something we'll just have to discuss.
Okay,
Is the town billing anyone right now, for any other activities?
Well, we
outside of
send out,
sewer?
yeah, I mean, you send out SOAR bills, I think quarterly, right, Carol?
Oh, yeah, no, I know that's through the water department. I'm thinking, is there anything else that your office does on the billing?
No, we don't bill.
Right, that was
The
the
accounting
problem.
office does not do billing.
We learned that from Don Pia rather
Yeah.
quickly. So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I'm gonna speak with Lisa because I haven't seen any of these. Like the monthly spreadsheet that Jennifer actually brought into my office yesterday. I've never seen any of those.
okay.
So I'm not exactly sure how Lisa had done this previously or if she had at all. So,
We haven't billed anyone directly like in forever.
okay,
This is virgin territory as far as we're,
okay.
So then, so Jennifer, if we have so this is not we don't put this on the books as a note to us, right? So we can't encumber that money.
No, that has to be that's money that will be part of your your budget, estimated receipts, that you're gonna bill this, and then it has to be appropriated at town meeting. It can't get funneled into a special fund.
Okay, so this is going to be revenue coming in that's not offset by any expenses.
Right,
So we can only recognize the revenue as it comes in.
right. Well, you can, well, right now, so if we were to talk about so the SOAR budget's already been done, right? So we have estimated revenue that's coming in from what you're billing in from your SOAR. But since this agreement isn't complete, he hasn't met the terms of the contract yet. I know we're planning on them to be June. And then we can start billing him, but the budget's already completed, so we can't really make any changes. But if let's say in June, he completes the contract and we can start billing him, we can start recognize the revenue for FY25. We wouldn't do it now. I mean, the budget's already done, so we wouldn't. I mean, the last thing you want to do is have an appropriation at town meeting against revenue that this will be the first year. And then if something happens and then he doesn't complete or, finish the contract or whatever he's supposed to do, and then the revenue doesn't come in, but you have an appropriation, now you have an unbalanced budget.
So I think what's going to occur is two things. One is we have our regular sewer rate, which when we were there Tuesday night, was currently the same or it was about $10,000 less. Right.
Yeah,
Right. So that's going to go up. We're over the next 12 months. I know because he's already fully hooked up all three buildings. So he's already flowing sewer. He's already getting water bills. He'll be getting a sewer bill during the next full quarter billing cycle. So there's an estimate of about $50,000 in revenue that's going to be coming in that we need to recognize. I know you've already submitted a budget, but that revenue is going to be coming in over the next 12 months. Also, Cook Estate has already been hooked up and they're flowing, and I'm estimating their revenue to be somewhere around 20,000 to be coming in. So that revenue is coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know that we should wait till 2025 to recognize it. We're going to have to
well,
recognize.
it will be coming in. So what will happen is it becomes part of your retained earnings.
Okay,
So it's not like you don't get it. It's just, you can't spend it. You can't appropriate against it. That's all.
unless,
but we can account for it and recognize it.
Oh, yeah, it comes in. So it's not, we do get the revenue in. So what it will do is at the end of the fiscal year, at the end of FY24, it'll just become part of your retained earnings. So your retained earnings would be higher with that money in there.
okay, so that'll be the same then when payments start coming in from both Cook and CJC, those payments will come in, they'll go to retained earnings.
Yeah.
And then we'll convert the retained earnings to available cash.
Right.
Okay,
Once it's certified, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
Now, is that something we could do if we needed to at special town meeting in October?
As long as special town meeting, if the money has come in and if special town meeting is being held before we set the tax rate. If it happens after we set the tax rate, like we did last year, then no, you can't use it. I don't know what's the important use that you need to use this money for right away? Like, what are you gonna use it for? What's the push on it? You've already submitted a balanced budget. I wasn't told that, we don't have enough money. We need to actually appropriate $50,000 more because we're getting in this revenue. So it seems like you only increased your expenses slightly. So why do you want to spend this $50,000 or $70,000? Like, what are you going to use it for? What's so important?
Well,
I would say on our plant, I mean, we've got some issues with our plant and if we had it, we could, potentially just buy it.
Yeah, so we
But
have.
why
some-
wasn't that submitted with your budget then? If you had to have this expense in 24, why wasn't that part of the budget?
We didn't know. We didn't know what they were.
Okay.
So what's upon us right at the moment is we had a failure of a membrane system in our sewer
Yeah,
plant.
I'm familiar with that.
Okay, so we're seeking a remedy from the manufacturer.
Yep.
If that remedy doesn't come through, we're gonna have to support the remedy financially ourselves.
Right.
Second of all, as part of that remedy, it was the opinion of our subject matter expert, Dan Coughlin, that perhaps we need this special grit screw, which to my surprise came in at about $400,000. We have not reached any second or third opinion or sought any outside advice from anyone else on that at the moment. So it's a fluid situation where we're not sure if we need the grit screw or if the grit screw is really $400,000. This is something that we need to figure out. And we can't figure that out until we determine the remedy from the manufacturer of the membranes.
Right.
So,
Well, you still have retained earnings. So, if you have an emergency situation and
Yep.
whether it's revenue or retained earnings, you still have that. I mean, my communities I've worked in before had a full service sewer department and water department. So I know that you're trying to get a remedy from the manufacturer. And as you know, you want to push that through legal, but also if you have one person saying, well, this 400,000 will do it, you definitely want to do some sort of peer review and have somebody look at it before you go into town meeting and make sure that's absolutely what you want to do. As you know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but you always have retained earnings. So at town meeting, if you needed money, you could always take it from retained earnings if it's
Okay.
after we set the tax rate.
okay.
Hmm.
So what does the tax rate setting do?
Have to do with you?
Well, Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, all right. No, it's a good question and it does get confusing. So you have a SOAR enterprise fund, which is a separate business entity, right?
right.
So when you propose the budget for FY 24, we have estimated revenues, right? And it supports the appropriations that you want to have in your budget. So we're estimating the revenues for FY 24. We can't, when we set the tax rate in FY 24, after we set the tax rate, because we're actually, part of the tax rate setting is submitting all the information for the water and the sewer enterprise fund, right? So once we set that rate, the tax rate, and we've submitted all the information for water and sewer, we can't appropriate from estimated revenue anymore until the next fiscal year. Those estimated revenues, because we've already told DOR, listen, these are our estimated revenues, these are our appropriations. And they look at that, they make sure that your revenues are conservative and they certify your retained earnings. So once all that's certified, it takes your revenues that you're getting in that year off the table. You can't appropriate from them anymore.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the clarification. I
Yeah, no
wasn't aware of
worries.
that aspect of it, yeah.
Okay, so I guess this is just a situation where we get Carol up to speed on how we budget, how we bill and we'll pass it by you for your approval. Would that be right?
Yeah, sure. Let me know. And if I can help, I can get the treasurer's office involved too, if I can help on how we might want to build that and with the software and what that can handle. It'd be better if we can build through the software than we do it manually.
Yeah, I would agree.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Because if you do it manually, it's just gonna, it's gonna get missed. So.
I don't plan on being a sewer commissioner for 20 years, so I want a mechanism in place that somebody else remembers.
I'm getting
Right,
close to it, so I'm
exactly.
getting close to it, so you should try too.
Well,
Okay,
thank you, Jennifer, for the
yeah,
clarification.
thank you very much.
Yeah,
Oh, you're welcome. Is that it?
that's it. We just had those two big concerns and
Okay. And
yeah.
I'll email you the financial reports.
Okay.
and then you guys can take a look at them. And if you have any questions, or if you want to come in and meet with me, we can look at them. And then I just, when we meet, I think we need to have Carol involved, because she's going to be your first point of, she's, be tracking the budget, tracking revenues. So at least you have someone, and then if there's any issues, you can always come to me and Diane. But right now, we'll all work together to get brought up to speed.
Okay,
Very good.
Sounds great.
All right, great. All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Have a great day.
thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, bye-bye.
I think that's all we have, right?
Did you get the email that I sent from Rob Scott on, the capital projects?
I got your email here. Let me just look.
It was on April 7th.
No, I'm having problem with your server. I mean, I'm not getting any emails, or if I send emails to anybody in the town, they don't go through.
Okay,
And I get
Yeah.
messages from the town saying, you can't access these folks. And I'm like, I have no idea why.
So I'm going there right at the moment.
I think I did get that. Yes.
Is this a RFP,
No, it's
No,
the,
April
it's
7th?
the. it's,
yep, it just says, FYI capital projects.
So I don't have anything from you on April 7th.
I don't either.
Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'll forward this to you, and then I can add this to the next meeting.
Okay,
And basically, he was talking about the influence screening, I repair work and building systems, and what he thought, because we had asked them for a response on what they thought our capital projects would need to be.
Right.
So I will forward this all to you. And then we can talk about this at the next meeting. How's that?
fine.
That's great. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, we have to
Right.
really
I
wrap
also-
our arms around this sewer plant issue.
I also distributed the quarterly report from the end of the year. As
Mhm.
long, and with a little supplemental, when they took down the tank. What observations we had to, and there were some observations on the screen as well. But in terms of the screen, it was 435 and some change for a
Yep.
complete replacement. If you were looking just to keep the tank and do a drop in, the price went down to about 241. And then I also asked the vendor to basically give us a quote to have a manufacturer's rep come down and actually evaluate the equipment to give you a second recommendation if you want to pursue that. And the cost for that is, I believe, $3,500.
So I guess the question I have really, I just need an understanding more than anything, is that before membrane failure, the grit screw and the screens were fine. Then they were not. They were failing at that time.
The grit screw had failed for literally 2 years.
Okay,
And the screening device I thought was adequate, but it was being operated in overflow. So basically, all the material was washing through.
okay. I thought we did something financially about the grit screw when I first came on.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I had asked DNC to give Wood & Curran a quote. And for some reason, that was never pursued. I asked them again last year to give them another quote, and I believe they received that. And, nothing really happened on that. What Wood & Curran currently does is they just supposedly empty out the grit once a year.
Okay,
But the grit's not so much the issue, although we did find a lot of it in the bottom of the tank when they took the tank down. The issue was really the finer material, the stringy material, the plastics, the hair that overflow the screen. And you really need to, especially for the Z-Weed product, you really need to screen that material before it goes in. So
so is this a parallel problem to the membrane issue, or did the membrane issue highlight this problem? I'm trying to determine if the membrane issue
looking for
caused
the chicken or the
caused
egg.
a faster failure with the grit screw, I don't know.
Yeah, that's my opinion. It is. It did. You really can't have that material. And if you looked at the fibers, there
Yeah,
was a lot of material on the fibers.
Yeah.
Basically blinding them from getting circulation, and a lot of that was basically material, a good portion of it was material that should have been screened out and removed.
Okay. So, I'm just wondering if there's a failure of the membranes delaminating, then it was causing a problem for us to process because it was clogging the screens and,
It was clogging the fibers and the membranes. They
Yeah.
basically be bound up with material on the outside.
okay,
And the new leap bottom diffusers that were installed, both the old ones and the new ones just have a very narrow slot in the bottom.
mhm,
And if that's bound up with material, no air goes through the system at all.
okay.
So the system stops.
So we had an aeration problem to begin with. You think this is a,
The fibrous material in the tanks, I believe, had a big factor in how the bottom of the aeration diffusers were blinded.
okay. We know the membranes failed. The question is, did
Well, I'm not.
did it cause a bigger problem because the no aeration and the clogging with the grid screw and screens,
Yeah, Paul, I'm not of the opinion that we're 100% behind that the failure of the membranes occurred.
Yeah,
We were still supposed to do that high cleaning.
Yeah.
From the information I got, the cleaning process maybe wasn't as rigorous as what the manufacturer had recommended, and there was a recommendation to do an intensive clean on the membranes.
mhm,
And obviously my concern was if fibrous material is still in the tank, we have an issue.
yeah,
So, I mean, the tank was taken down and, there was an exchange of material there, but if we're still continuing to overflow the screen, that fibrous material is still going to go back in, we're still going to have some issues. So I think the screen is an important aspect that we need to upgrade, so that we can get things.
when I saw the price tag, I fell out of my chair when I saw that $500,000,
Yeah, I think the 241 version was really what I had anticipated. The tank itself seems okay. We just need the drop in, the screws and everything else from the top, But still, 241 is a big price tag.
It is, yeah,
The other option was basically, can we repair what we have? And, obviously DNC had given them a price to repair the screw. I think that was over $100,000. So we could have this guy come down and give us an evaluation, but my guess is he's going to at least probably recommend the drop-in replacement.
how old is the screw?
It's day one, 23 years right now.
Okay,
Wonderful.
it's probably at least 50% of its lifespan, if not 75%.
I'd say about 75%.
Yeah.
I mean, they're wearing mechanisms, so they do wear down.
Yeah,
That's obvious. One of the aspects was I had asked Wood & Current to continue to use the wedge wire screen, which has a higher capacity.
Yeah.
And if they use the wedge wire, the flow immediately comes down in the influence screw on that side, and we get out of overflows. When I first asked them to do that, the unit was not operational. So I believe they have it operational. My recommendation is to have them use that all the time. So that we don't have an overflow condition and material washing in,
okay.
Anything else we need to discuss?
Well,
That
just
was
so
what was on
you,
the,
yeah,
sorry.
just so you know too, they did dewater the tank, but they weren't set up to clean the bottom. So there's still maybe about 10 inches of material in the bottom of those tanks that was
Okay.
never removed, heavy sludge and
Sludge, yeah.
fibrous material. And, they were on top of the diffusers, the air diffusers at the bottom. So it potentially was compromising, aeration. But from a positive aspect, those membrane diffusers are also as old as the screw, 23 years. Typically, they're replaced on a 10-year base, but they still seem to be very operational. So,
Okay,
I didn't see any immediate need at this point, but sometime in the future, we may need to replace those flexible membranes on the bottom.
Okay,
And then the only other thing I wanted to bring up is rules and regs again, just, you know, if anybody has any feedback on those, we're kind of stalled for a board review, and I didn't know if you wanted to have a separate meeting just to go over the rules and regs. Maybe that's the way to address it.
yeah, so as I mentioned to you before, I was comparing them kind of side by side and I was kind of getting lost. I know you rewrote the whole thing, so I'm just trying to figure out if how much of the old stuff is in there, or is 100% of the old stuff in there, and then you added new stuff to it.
99% of what it was in the old regs is in the new regs.
Okay,
Okay, there was some stuff that was outdated, some stuff that was a little contradictory.
Yeah.
Some stuff that was stated several places, so it was tough to really keep track of what was going on.
Okay.
But I hopefully this version is a little bit more concise.
okay. I'll go through it again then, knowing that aspect of it. I went over it, Jesus, it's been a number of months ago, when you sent it over.
Yeah, I mean, I can meet with, you know, each member individually or whatever
Okay.
you want.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at it again.
Yeah, I think we should have a meeting on it and just do it on that and just go through it.
Dan, can you resend those regs?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, because the last ones I believe were signed off in 2002 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's published, yeah.
What I want to be sure is that our rates are in there so that nobody can screw around with this as to, you know, when the rates were there and did we have a discussion about it and send us the meeting minutes and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's not usually good practice to put them in the rules and regs. You usually have a fee sheet that's established and used. And that's the easiest thing to basically replace.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just thinking I'd like to have some mention in there that this is when we did it and that kind of thing, so nobody can come back.
Yeah,
We're-
and
we're gonna-
we do need to go over those the fee sheet. Carol had given me a lot of the information that she currently bills.
Mhm.
And there may be some aspects in there that you want to change or modify.
Okay, so we have a summer project ahead of us.
All right,
Sounds good. I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, great.
You like sitting in the big chair?
I know. Now that you're upside down, yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, I've actually fixed it, but now my camera doesn't work. So
Okay. So we'll see everyone on the 26th.
very good. All right.
Sounds great.
See you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
I know.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.